Hey guys, Kurt and Sarah from Time Machine Transport. So this is the unit we reconfigured. What we did was, on the last video, you guys remember that there was a drawer here. And so we cut this out, pulled this back, cut it up in there, and then cut out the back for the fridge. Because the fridge is 18 inches deep. So if we didn't cut out that hole, the fridge would be sticking out about like that. So we wanted to make it so we can make the fridge door flush. And then obviously we're going to have a door here. So my wife's doing the antiquing now. Chalk paint. And so that's going to be like that. And then the wine fridge is going to be there. And then we made the drawer here, so everything is lined up. And then this obviously will line up like so, nice and even. So we hit it with a 80 grit just real quick to get all the bumps and everything out of it. And then obviously we beefed the drawer up because none of this was here. So basically we just figured out some math on where the drawer would clear it. And then we just kind of beefed up both sides, and everything is wood glued. Even the back side up there is all wood glued. That's okay.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, so this is it. And then, so we couldn't keep the mirror. Darn it. We couldn't keep the mirror, so that's the unit. And then I made well, it's a pretty major mistake, but I dropped the router bit because we rerouted this with a router all the way around. And when I was changing the router bit, this was laying down flat, and the router bit dropped on the mirror, and it broke. So, and it wasn't even, there was no adhesive or anything on the back wall here. The mirror was just free floating. The shelf that used to be here went all the way across. That was actually holding the mirror up. So in time, when we move, or if we ever move or whatever, or just gravity in general, there was two pieces of mirror. So there was a mirror on the bottom and then a mirror on the top. So there was a gap 3/4 of an inch on the mirror. Well, the mirror eventually would have just slid down with gravity and time. So it's better to have it break now than in the future when we have everything finished. So anyways, and then there was a major mistake. So if you look up here, you'll see on a router, here, I'll show you real quick. Excuse our mess. Oh, here they are right here. Be all worth it when it's done. If you guys don't know anything about routers or router bits, this wheel turns. So I'll show you what happened. If this one turns, yeah. Actually, I'll use the actual bit. I think it was this one here, I think. Maybe it was a little bit bigger, but just like that. That's how the mirror broke. So anyways, with a router, this wheel moves, and that's what keeps the router in place. You can see where the wheel's moving. Well, I think this was the bit. Anyways, as I was routing, when we pulled, there was if you look back on the first video, there was a few boards that went all the way across, right? There was one here, and then there was a decorative one up here. There were staples holding it in. So when I pried it out, there were little, and not like the U staples that look like that. They were like square, really girthy, like a pin almost. And when I took a vice grip and I clamped it on there and I pried it out, it broke the wood. So what happened was the piece that went all the way across from here to there were several broken pieces because they had it beefed up for the obvious, because if you have a lot of weight in your hutch with glasses or plates or anything, you really have to have it reinforced, and they did. So what happened was when I had the router on the wheel, when it was moving, when the router hit that opening, out of focus there, sorry guys. When the router, come on now, why aren't you focusing? Is my lens dirty? Anyways, so when it was rolling like so, it hit that gap, and I didn't realize that it would really do that. It was an error on my part. So as the wheel's rolling, it hits that open area that's broke, and the router went up into the wood. So that's why this is like this. And don't worry about this. We did an opposite route on it, and my wife said it's not a big deal. It just kind of, it adds to the antique or the old beat up look, I guess. But there was, from this router line, instead of going straight to this one here, it went like that and came back out. So there's a huge problem or a mistake here. So there was no way to repair it. And then this one was the exact same way. When the router, like I said, you could see where the piece actually started coming off, and then, like I said, it went whoop, and then came back. So this huge router piece, there was a big no-no in here. It went like that and then came back straight. So we couldn't leave it like that. So I looked for another router or another router bit, because you can do several different routes with the case that I have, probably 50 different routers or whatever, or grooves or whatever you want to call them. I'm not obviously a professional carpenter, but anyway, so I thought that maybe instead of doing the same groove, go the opposite. So that's what we did. And then once we do the inside, we're going to probably hang little towel hangers here, so you can have a towel for the coffee bar and the wine bar. We'll probably do maybe 2 different colored towels or something, just like hand towels. So my wife, she was okay with it. She's cool. So, but yeah, there was a few little mistakes. Obviously, 1, the mirror, and then obviously 2, the router joints. But like I said, that's the reason why. So if you're doing this and you go to pull anything off and you have this, see if you can cut another little piece of wood and try to jam it in there, or kind of hold the router straight until you get past that gap. So it was a huge mistake. But anyways, it's still going to look cool. And then I'll show you guys what we're going to do. So we actually decided, my mom had a great idea, and Sarah and I had actually talked about it, about doing our top here with pennies. But because of the coin shortage, we weren't sure if we were going to do it. So we're not going to route the top. We're probably not going to do the bottle caps. We're probably just going to do pennies, if we can get them from the bank. And how you're going to do that math is you're just going to take pennies and you're going to stack them all along the ridge here, the line, obviously close together, and then count how many pennies you have. And then you're going to take a roll of pennies, and you can use probably dimes or nickels, whatever, because you're going to be right around the size of a penny, whatever, a little less or a little larger. And then take your pennies and go all the way down the top there, and then just times the length by the width on your row of pennies, and that'll tell you how many pennies you're going to need. And then we're just going to epoxy the top like we said. But we're not going to do the router. We're not going to do the Sibylla thing, because we're going to do a couple cool pictures with my wife and I, and her drinking coffee and then drinking wine. So we're going to go with that one instead. So let's go ahead and show you. Once again, excuse our huge mess. I'm sure our neighbors aren't happy with us, but all right. So how cool is this? These are our repurposed pallet boards. So we're actually going to stand those up inside the unit, and we only have to cut off a little bit. And what I did was, when we took the pallet apart at the shop, when the pallet was together, I took a Sawzall and cut the back of the nails off, because they look cooler with the nails in them. So we're going to just probably shave off a little bit here because these almost fit. I tried to do them horizontal, but they weren't. We would have had to cut off more. So vertical is the best way to get the most board for the look, and just have to cut off a little bit. It literally is just a little bit. Let's see if I can show you guys. Like I said, we would have did this at our shop, but going back and forth, it just didn't make any sense. So we'd rather have the mess at home. So anyways, so these boards, see on the bottom there, we only have to cut a little bit. So I'll probably end up cutting a little bit off the top and a little bit off the bottom. And these are going to get stacked inside, vertical. And then we're gonna space them. We're going to space them out so we can stick that light behind there. And then the old light left a huge hole. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the router and we're going to take some, because we haven't bought any wood for this. The only thing that we bought was the chalk paint, which was expensive, my wife said. And you need a specialized brush. And then the hardware, obviously, for the handles. The brush alone was $20. So, anyways, I had all the tools at the shop. Obviously, I used to be a carpenter in my old days. But anyways, so we just use regular carpenter's glue or wood glue. There's a Tight Bond product that I would recommend. I'll show you guys a picture of it. And then we just use regular screws. And so we literally, minus the epoxy for the top and the pennies, probably, my guess is probably going to be about maybe $5 to $10 in pennies to do that top. And then, so the pennies, probably $5 to $10. The epoxy is kind of expensive. We'll probably need 2 quarts for the top. And then the hardware. So other than that, obviously we had the Hutch, and then we had the repurposed plywood at the shop. And then obviously all the tools. But anyways, getting back to this. So we're going to take this repalletize or the repurposed wood, the pallet, and we're going to go from left to right or right to left, however you want to look at it. And then each board is going to just go vertical. And then, like I said, we're going to space it out so we could put a light back there. And then we're going to gap the boards just a little bit, not much, really, really tiny, because we're trying to do full boards all the way across without having to cut any. So we'll put all the boards in there, and then we'll figure out our spacing. And then the light, when we pop a light behind there, you'll see the light come between the boards. I'm so excited to do this and show you guys. But for the hole up here, we're going to cut pieces of wood from the unit, because we have quite a bit of stuff that we ripped out. And we're actually going to put a board right over this. And we're going to do our wine glass. The bottoms of the wine glass are going to slide right in their wine glass holders. So we're going to do 2 pennants. One, we already have them. One right here and one right there. And then we'll do probably 1, 2, 3 wine glass holders. And then, instead of doing a wine rack, we're going to put our red wine in here, and then obviously the refrigerator will have the white or red or whatever, but we're going to put the wine in here, and then obviously our other glasses in there. So we're super excited to show you guys how this thing looks. Oh, and another thing we're going to do.
Already painted.
Wow, look at you.
Now we wait for about 10-15 minutes, and then we paint it again.
And then we're going to take the plywood, or the 2x4s, which isn't really a 2x4, probably it's about 1.5, 1.25. And we're going to actually build the legs out of this. We're going to cut them on the table saw. And we're going to go 7 inches, and we're going to actually put them in the bottom there. Instead of purchase, we were going to go with a metal leg, but we're going to, by doing these, it's going to kind of bring the whole thing together with the wood boards on the back where the light's going to be. And then we're going to, on the top there, we're going to do a border. We're going to do that out of these, real thin. So it'll kind of bring it all together. But, and I know I kind of go on, I like being very thorough with you guys. And if you guys have any questions, you guys can obviously comment. This is the wood glue. This is the kind that I recommend. and it holds tremendously. And then because this board, there was a board across here, and we had to cut, like this part was fine, but this part was connected, so I actually had to cut, and it was an off cut. It was kind of crooked. So it's even now, and the reason why it's even is because I had a belt sander. My belt sander with a 40 grit belt on it, which evened it out really nice. So the tools you're going to need if you want to do this project, the tools you're going to need is definitely a table saw. And then we had these little stands at the shop. So you're going to need table saw, a small shop vac, obviously drop cloths. You're going to need the chalk paint, obviously, a sander, a router bits, wood clamps, a speed square, a Sawzall, and this little doodad I didn't end up using. It's a kind of a funky little thing I actually bought. I'm not a Harbor Freight guy, but this came in handy one time for me at a job I used many years ago when I was a general contractor. And it's just a small little belt. But I thought I might have needed it, but you don't need that. So, and obviously a hammer, tape measure, pry bar, if you want to pry the stuff off. But that's pretty much it. Maybe some masking tape, whatever the case is, if you want to mask something off, whatever. But yeah, super stoked on this. This is really going to turn out quite well. So I was more nervous about screwing up her dad's old and mom's old Hutch, because that's why we're doing this, because it's a memory of her dad and her mom. Well, her mom's still alive, Carol, but her dad is gone, and it's a memory to him, and that's why we wanted to save it. So we could have just went out and bought a new one, but why not keep the memory and make something super cool? So anyways, we'll do it. This is the part 2 video. Oh, and you're gonna need a level and a vice grip to pull any nails or staples you may have.
Can I do this? Is that okay?
You can do whatever one you want, baby.
Okay.
I don't know which door you want to use, but it's up to you. So, but yeah, yeah, because we only need one door. We're only using one door. So.
The other door's by the garbage.
On the side over there? And it's in the garbage already? Oh, okay. All right, guys. So this, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I'm super stoked to show you guys how this turns out. And I hope this video finds you well. Ciao.